Good afternoon, morning, evening, year 5. What a pleasure to see you again. Today we are looking again at Muslim or Islamic community and climate change. Lesson 1, what is climate change? Lesson 2, we looked at stewardship, which is the duty Muslims have to look after the earth. Lesson 3, we looked at Muslim charities. Lesson 4, we looked at mosques. Today we're looking at the global Muslim community. So that's all Muslims globally. They got together, they decided on a special document they were going to write. We're actually going to look at that exact document today to see how, as a group, the second biggest religion in the world, how they are tackling climate change. Okay, this is the Islamic Declaration on Global Climate Change. Remember, Muslims follow the religion of Islam. Something or someone who is Islamic is Muslim. So don't get confused about these two terms, Islamic and Muslim. In 2015, Muslim leaders from across the world met together in Istanbul, which is in which country, anyone? It's in Turkey, and issued the Islamic Declaration on Global Climate Change. It calls on Muslims and governments to work hard to combat climate change and for all people to recognise their duty of stewardship. Stewardship, of course, is the duty Muslims have to look after the world being a gift from Allah, of course, according to Muslims at least. We're going to look at some of the suggestions for how individual Muslims can help. And you can see here the language that this is written in. I found a version here with English that I used to make this lesson, but it is mostly written in Arabic, which is the language of Islam. Okay, it's not just Muslims. Religious leaders from many of the world's faiths have issued calls to action on climate change. Let's read the extract opposite. So this is from a news article. Many faiths and denominations, which are splits or divides within faiths, have this year also been calling governments to take action at the Paris climate meeting, along with pledging climate action themselves. In June, Pope Francis, who is Pope, is the head of which religion? He is the head of Catholic Christians, and he released a letter in which he called for the world's 1.2 billion Catholics to join the fight against climate change. The Church of England, which is the Christian church here in England, their synod, which is when they meet together, recently urged world leaders to agree to long-term pathways to a low-carbon future, and that just means taking action on climate change, really. And it is amongst a number of Christian groups promising to redirect their resources into clean energy. Hindu leaders will make their own statement later this year. Buddhist community plans to step up engagement this year are building on a Buddhist declaration on climate change. Rabbis, who are Jewish faith leaders, released a rabbinic letter on the climate crisis. Interfaith groups, and we're looking at the Muslim reaction as well. So we've got Christians, both Church of England and Catholic. We've got Muslims, Buddhists, Jews and Hindus all taking action on climate change. Okay, let's have a look at 10 actions that Muslims can take to fight climate change. We're not going to look at all 10 because we'd be here all day, but you can see on the last page of your booklet is a spider diagram. For each one that we go through, I would really like you to fill that out, leaving enough space, because at the end of the lesson, you're going to add some of your own ideas for how people can fight climate change. So number 1, talk to your leaders about the declaration. Spread the word amongst your local Islamic community, in the mosque, in school, wherever you are. Speak to them, try and convince them how important this is and how they can spread the word themselves. They might talk about it at the mosque, they might talk about it in a newspaper or something like that. So that's number 1, talk to your local religious leaders. Number 5, recycle and reduce waste. One of the most effective ways we can reduce our own contribution to climate change and pollution is through recycling on a regular basis. Almost everything can be recycled, even food waste. Even when you throw away your potato peel or your orange peel, that can be rotted down to make compost. Plastic, metal, glass. I'm sure a lot of you recycle at home. We recycle at school, and they're saying you need to keep doing that. Good. So recycle and reduce the amount of waste that you are creating. That's really obvious, but it's also a really good one. Number 6, fast for the climate. What does fasting mean? Can you tell me? Okay, so fasting is when you don't eat. So Muslims fast for a month during Ramadan, where they don't eat between when the sun comes up and when the sun goes down. Ramadan at the moment is in the middle of summer, so it's a really long time to not be eating. They're saying that thousands of people every year don't eat on December the 1st to raise awareness and send a powerful message that climate change is not acceptable. So by fasting, by not eating, it's a form of protest to show how angry you are about climate change. And obviously you're reducing your amount of waste for that day as well, because if you're not eating anything, you're not producing any waste. The last one is to read up about climate change. So to find out more about it, to educate yourself, educate other people, to go and look for information about it. So those are our 4 that we can write on here. We can write that they have to challenge their leaders on climate change. They should recycle and reduce how much waste they produce. They should fast for the climate, which is not eat, and they should read up about climate change. And what I would like you to do is any other suggestions you have, you can add to that spider diagram as well. Anything else you think people should do to tackle climate change, or even better, anything you're doing yourself, would be really interesting to hear about. Okay, next lesson we are going to look at what are we? Oh, we're looking at the Hajj. It's so interesting, the pilgrimage they go on and how that is affected by the environment. I will see you then. Have a lovely week. Have an amazing weekend. Goodbye, Year 5.